And now, the final 10 my favorite films of all time. Number 10, Gone with the Wind, one of the most popular films of all time. And it could have been a flop. It came from a book that was over 1,000 pages long. It was a huge undertaking with the Civil War and the Reconstruction as backdrop. It had a huge cast of characters. So how did they pull it off? Well, they concentrated on the two main characters, Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler, played excellently by Vivien Leigh and Clark Gable. What was fascinating is that they were not heroic in the traditional sense. They were selfish scoundrels, but they were made for each other. Now, this story moves by quicker than any action film done today. It was directed by Victor Fleming, who incidentally also directed The Wizard of Oz that same year. Now, this movie would not be made today. It's not politically correct. In the movie, women need to marry and have children to be fulfilled. Rhett Butler once forces himself on Scarlett O'Hara, and she likes it. The worst thing is the African-American stereotypes with shuffling and jiving, and when one African-American attacks Scarlett, well, what do? They attack a black shanty town. What can I say? The film seems to be nostalgic for the good old slave days. If they had whipped poor Mammy, it would certainly put a damper on this story, wouldn't it? But I guess for those of us who love Gone with the Wind, we can enjoy the love story in the foreground and ignore the horrible things that are going on in the back. And there is a lot to love here. Vivien Leigh goes from flirty little girl to cold to blazing fury. It's a performance for the ages. And Clark Gable manages to start out arrogant and cynical, but by the end, he gets our sympathies. If you haven't seen it already, go for it. Number 9, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, my favorite of the series. Due to Sean Connery's inclusion as Indiana's father, Henry Jones. Henry Jones Sr. is a bit of a loner, a scholar, he's distant, and we sense how it was probably the death of Indiana's mother that undid whatever glue this family had. So Indiana Jones grew up needing a father figure, hence the hat and the whip. We get to understand Indiana, but only if we choose to, because this movie is subtle with its psychological possibilities. This is not pop psychology, it's about adventure and fun and thrills, and it delivers. And just think, it makes sense that in the movie world, it was the old James Bond who would engender Indiana Jones. The chemistry between Connery and Ford is great, and hats off to Steven Spielberg for pulling it off. This is adventure galore, great art direction, great thrills, great suspense. Number 8, The Dark Knight. If you knew nothing about Batman, you'd still get caught up in the Christopher Nolan's world. Here we have three men, Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and District Attorney Harvey Dent, all trying to fight crime with different methods, but with the same goal. And in comes the Joker, an anarchist who disrupts the social order and puts these men against each other. He confuses and challenges everyone. How far would you go to allow vigilante Batman to protect the streets? Would you sacrifice your freedoms? How many need to die? Is Batman even necessary? This film is thrilling, and it treats the superhero genre with seriousness, perhaps too much seriousness. My only complaint is a transition of Harvey Dent from a good hero to the villain Two-Face. Maybe there was room for 2 Batman films here. The performances are top of the line, but Heath Ledger transcends to another level as the manic Joker. May he rest in peace. Number 7, Goodfellas, the true story of Henry Hill and his 30 years in the Mafia, directed by Martin Scorsese, who really understands these people from Little Italy. It has an inner feel, and we laugh and go along with these wise guys until one violent scene or another jolts us back into reality. These guys may be funny, may be charming, but they are also immoral killers, sociopaths. Every day among them could be your last, and there are deaths aplenty. Martin Scorsese does not sugarcoat this. We see the destruction of the family unit as the men not only cheat on their wives and neglect their children, but they corrode those around them who get caught up in their wild, destructive path. There is no redemption, no remorse. Probably the best gangster film ever, and amazingly enough, it's all true. Number 6, Silver Linings Playbook. An excellent screenplay with an excellent cast. David Russell, the director, has a knack for handling actors. Look at his films, American Hustle, The Fighter, and Silver Linings Playbook. Oscar nominations for the whole cast in all 3 films. Now, Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper have excellent chemistry as 2 lovebirds with mental illness who find each other. The dialogue is rich. There's not one dull moment. Jackie Weaver and Robert De Niro were great as well as the parents, and so were the co-stars Chris Tucker, Pim Kerr, John Ortiz, and Julia Stiles. It's pure delight to see all of them interact together, proving that even those of us with phobias and disorders can find love. We can all be okay. Number 5, Saving Private Ryan. During World War II, 3 brothers named Ryan die in battle. The military sends out a small company to find the 4th brother and send him home, and this raises the questions. Why does Ryan get to go home? Does he deserve it? And that is really the message. He doesn't deserve it, but it seemed the right thing to do. And do we deserve the sacrifice that these veterans made for us? We can't look at this based on merit. The war just seems like the right thing to do. Tom Hanks heads the group, and the film begins with a half hour of bullets and explosions during the American push into France on D-Day in July of 1941. It ends with a smaller but still fierce battle at a bridge. Quite simply, they are among the best battle scenes ever filmed. Ever. Period. It's grand scale filmmaking that perhaps only Steven Spielberg had the clout to pull off. The middle of the film is not as exhilarating as the opening and closing scenes. You can say that these 2 battle scenes bookend the film for what it is, and you're probably right, but no matter. Even veterans claim that the film was highly accurate and detailed, and the only thing missing from the battle scenes is to make you feel the smell of smoke. High praise. Number 4, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, my favorite Western of all time. 3 men chase after buried treasure, alternately needing each other but ready to kill one another the first chance they get. Eli Wallach plays the ugly Tuco. He steals the show as a low-life bandit who is surviving by lying, stealing, killing, scheming, always one step of those who are after him. Clint Eastwood plays Blondie, the good, the man with no name, strong and silent, stoic and deadly. Lee Van Cleef doesn't have much to do here, but he stands there and looks menacing. They travel through deserts and towns and even through a Civil War battle to get to the gold. It's Sergio Leone's culmination to his spaghetti western, and it ends with a duel so suspenseful you almost pass out from holding your breath. Number 3, Rocky. In 1976, Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky, and he refused to sell the rights to the story unless he could play the lead. The producers got the go-ahead if they kept the budget under $1 million, and the rest is history. A star was born. The movie picked up the Best Picture and Best Director awards, along with acting nominations for the whole cast. Rocky is a slow-witted boxer who never made it to the big time. Full of regrets, and by pure chance, he gets a chance to fight the heavyweight champion of the world. He courts a neighborhood girl named Adrian, played by Talia Shire, who works in a pet shop and who is almost chronically shy. Now, the love story is spot on as Rocky and Adrian timidly circle each other, hesitant to risk their hearts but unable to resist. This underdog Cinderella story is appealing because here success is not necessarily winning, but reaching high and doing your best. My only complaint were the increasingly mediocre sequels that followed with the same formula, same story, over-commercialized. I'm glad the last two films went full circle. A story of hopes and dreams and accomplishing great goals by sheer persistence and heart. Corny, yes, but irresistible. Number 2, Schindler's List. A movie about the Holocaust. How do you film one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century and do it justice? Well, Steven Spielberg got it right. Schindler's List is on most lists of best films ever made. It won Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Editing, Best Screenplay, Best Musical Score, Best Cinematography, and Best Art Direction. It got nominations for Best Makeup, Sound, Costume Design, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actor. A perfect film, but what a gamble. Spielberg aims high. There were no stars in this movie. He also insisted on filming in black and white. The backdrop is huge. The potential for disaster was always present. Filmed with a documentary style, with no crane shots, no zoom-ins, no melodrama. It's a stark and to-the-point film. Liam Neeson plays Schindler as an enigma, a selfish, drinking womanizer who uses the Jews to make money only to risk everything to save over 1,000 of them. Ray Fiennes plays the evil Amon Guth. Not a fascinating villain, no, he's shallow and stupid. The two men are often contrasted against each other, blurring the lines between moral and immoral, making us see how easy it is to get drawn into doing evil, or at least being complacent about it. There have been complaints about the lack of portrayal of Jewish heroes, the lack of the sexual violence that occurred repeatedly during the Holocaust, the portrayal of 1,000 Jews coming through relatively unscathed, when in reality, everybody was physically, emotionally, and mentally traumatized. However, most Holocaust survivors praise the film, and the movie has become more than just a movie. It's an important historical document. And now my number 1 film of all time. It's a tie, Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. The first film, based on a pulp gangster novel by Mario Puzo, follows Vito Corleone, a Sicilian mafia boss who sees himself as a businessman. It's a world of hypocrisy as the Corleones speak of honor and family, when in fact the men are committing horrendous crimes. Now, this is not the true mafia. The story is operatic and romanticized. It's like a corporation, like the American dream, corrupted. Vito refuses to deal in drugs. His refusal costs the other mafia families money, so a gang war breaks out. Several killings later, his son Michael Corleone takes over, gets revenge, and becomes the new Godfather. Now, Marlon Brando plays the Don as a gentle, never raising his voice, warm figure, comfortable in his power. Al Pacino, in only his second film as an actor, plays Michael Corleone, quiet, moody, cold, and distant, not wanting to get mixed up in the family, but eventually making a decision that would take over his life. Michael is calculating and dangerously patient. In Godfather Part II, we get the addition of a young Robert De Niro as the young Vito Corleone, quiet and unassuming as he stumbles into a life of crime. Vito's gift is his warmth, which earns him the love that Michael would never enjoy. The film alternates between Don Vito in the past and the son Michael in the present. Michael assumes power, but he isolates himself from everybody. Betrayals against him further embitter him towards his friends and family. Part 2 is epic with a much broader scope. Now, Michael and Fredo cement their breakup as brothers, and it's very, very sad. There's a shocking argument between Michael and his wife Kay, played by Diane Keaton. It gives us a sense that if Michael had followed a different path, because he loved Kay, he could have been happy. But he is ruthless. Michael ends up unable or unwilling to forgive. He is then respected and feared by all, but seemingly loved by no one. He is a tragic figure. Now, Steven Spielberg once said, "I have never made a film as good as The Godfather, and I don't have the ambition to try." Now, that is high praise indeed. And that's it, my top 200 films. Now send me your thoughts and let me know if you have any suggestions for any in-depth video on any of these films or any other. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. This is Cool Talk.